I drove my rusty pickup to the local game store door. Starfield gleamed upon the shelf, couldn't wait no more. Todd Howard spun his stories of galaxies afar, but when I fired up that game, I didn't get too far. Oh, Todd, you sold me stardust, but gave me empty skies. Promised me the universe with all your alibis. I fell for all your stories, like I always do. Starfield left me wishing for a game that's true. They boasted endless planets, each one unique and new. But after planet number 3, I'd seen a deja vu. The critics didn't love it, gave it mediocre scores. Just another space misfire echoed across the boards. Oh, Todd, you sold me stardust, but gave me empty skies. Promised me the universe with all your alibis. I fell for all your stories, like I always do. Starfield left me wishing for a game that's true. I searched for epic battles, but the AI wouldn't fight. Characters were wooden and the dialogue was trite. Todd promised me the cosmos, but left me in the dust. Now I'm trading in this game, it's betrayed my trust. Oh, Todd, you weaved a fable of worlds beyond compare, but all I got were glitches and load screens everywhere. Still somehow I'm considering when the next game's nigh, 'cause hope's a stubborn thing, and I'll give it one more try. Oh, Todd, you sold me stardust, but gave me empty skies. Promised me the universe with all your alibis. I fell for all your stories, like I'll always do. Starfield left me wishing for a game that's true. Oh, Todd, you sold me stardust, but gave me empty skies. Promised me the universe with all your alibis. I fell for all your stories, like I always do. Starfield left me wishing for a game that's true. But you've already did Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and Lord of the Rings.
I'm
But I
vibing.
think there's still one option that you've yet to explore. It's the series about a girl and her robotic dinosaurs. Now I know what you're all thinking, hey, isn't this a bit of a stretch? Horizon's fan base has been shrinking. It might be pretty, but there's always a catch. I've only met one person in my whole damn life who had an insatiable Horizon appetite. Everybody else doesn't care that much, but Herman Hulse doesn't really give a fuck. So here you go, world, it's Horizon again. If you got money, it's time to spend. It's got multiplayer, find a friend. Ooh, open up your mouth, girl, let me pour some Horizon in. It's sweet like honey, so give us all your money. Oh wait, oh fuck, no one's buying the game. I thought Horizon was as cool as Star Wars. I guess it turns out it's just kinda lame. Ooh, holy crap, oh no, why doesn't anybody care? Horizon is just as cool as all those other Lego games. Even though the evidence makes it seem like it's irrelevant, Lego Horizon flopped. I'm not sure why they bothered trying. Ooh, all of its fans must have been lying. Lego Horizon flopped, Horizon. Guess Sony is gonna have to try again. Skeep-a-doop-bop-boop, deep-a-deep-a-doo-da, robo-dino skip-bop, skip-bop, beep-a-deep-a-deep-a-boo-bop, going till the doo-da, beep-bop-a-noo-ta. Horizon should never the Lego game. Whoever greenlit that must have been fucking insane. Lego Horizon flopped. I'm not sure why they bothered trying. All of its fans must have been lying. Lego Horizon flopped. Horizon. Guess Sony is gonna have to try again. Sorry Herman Hulst. Guess he didn't make a new Star Wars after all. Sorry Herman Hulst. Just another day of ya dropping the ball.
Good morning, everybody. Ready to rock and roll once more. I've missed you all. How are you doing? Are you feeling good? Are you feeling lively? Are you feeling ready? Are you feeling ready? Because we got stuff, man. We have a Horizon clone. Watch out, Joraptor. Tencent is straight up just making Horizon themselves. Like, in my opinion, it looks significantly worse. But in the screenshots, it's like, I mean, come on. Like, come on. Like, it's not even, they're not even trying, dude. They're not even trying, but we'll look at that. I mean, oh my God, dude. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Polaris Quest, Horizon. I mean, come on. It's a little heavy-handed, but we'll talk about that. Oh, excuse me. Let's see, what else have we got? Small layoffs over at the Star Citizen studio. We touched on that. Ooh, a scandal a-brewing. A scandal a-brewing from one website that I have historically thought was pretty accurate most of the time, that I and other people caught just blatantly making stuff up about AC Shadows. So we'll look at that, because it was one of the most egregious examples of just making something up for rage bait clicks. But we'll look at that. Information about Eliza P DLC, of course, big ol' interview discussing Witcher 4 and their plans for that. That's kind of like the big ticket item, but yeah. We'll look at all that. IGN, no, not IGN. Insider Gaming. It does seem like they've taken steps to address it and fix it, but the fact that it happened at all is worrisome. And already, I mean, there's a bunch of like the rage bait kind of YouTubers and TikTokers that took it and ran with it, even though with 2 seconds of thought, it doesn't make any sense. But again, we'll talk about it here in a minute. KOTOR remake, nope, nothing. IGN released a long reveal trailer. They even copied Destiny. They literally have ghosts. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty egregious. And I mean, honestly, it looks like it plays closer to like a Pal World than a Horizon, but still, it's pretty shameless. It's kind of amazing, but we'll see if Sony tries to sue them or whatever. I mean, I think it like passes the gut check. Everybody knows what they're doing. Everybody knows what this is supposed to be. Like, everybody knows. But whether you can prove in a court, specifically damages is the other thing. Like, this looks very Horizon-esque, and you might get people buying it thinking that it's Horizon when it's not, and that's where you could have a really strong case. But the actual gameplay, like, not that similar at all. Again, plays much closer to Pal World than to Horizon. So we'll look at it more. But yeah, that's one of the most insane things I've seen. And then, oh yeah, No Man's Sky had a huge milestone hit. They are now officially, for all reviews, very positive. It's taken them 8 years, but they finally got there. I think they were just positive until just the other day, but they got there. So, well, I mean, baller. That's cool. That's pretty Gucci. Pretty Gucci. Oh yeah, and then Elon was talking about potentially acquiring Hasbro to gain the rights to D&D. I mean, unless he vowed to like just give it to like the old school guys, not touch it, not mess with it, not try to monetize it more than it is, like, okay. Because D&D right now is like one of the most toxically monetized, over monetized things, in my opinion, that I've seen in a long time. It's really bad. I complain about it all the time, but it can't be worth that much. D&D, that is. Which is why they're trying to monetize it more. Hasbro, though, Hasbro is huge. Yeah, I mean, Hasbro is a almost $10 billion company. Like, they own every game you can think of. They own every tabletop game, every card game, every action figure. Like, they own everything. So, I don't know. I mean, for Elon, that's not that... It's not a crazy amount of money. Anyway. Odds of that happening are very low. What's my take on Steam Season Pass policy? From what I understand of it, I'm like, cool. Yeah, don't let companies sell something if they don't know what's in it or what it's going to be. Seems pretty self-explanatory to me, but I know there's probably a lot more nuance to it. But my initial reaction, based on what I understand of it, I think it makes sense. JFD, thank you for that super chat. I bought Starfield at $50 today in Swedish money, Black Friday. Also bought a 4070 Super yesterday, so lucky to have it. Have the best day ever, or the best day, Luke, even if it's evening here. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate you. And yeah, I'm having a great day. We're gonna do this stream, and then I've got to go and clean out the room on the other side of this wall because it's the unfinished room in this basement. And then we're going to have a crew coming in and they're going to finish the basement. And then we're probably moving the studio to that room. They're going to replace all the carpets in here and stuff. And this will become the D&D board game room for when I have people over and stuff. So it's going to be good. We're going to get that cleaned out. Going to get it ready for them to do their work. And then this evening, going to go see a musical. It's a musical, not Wicked. I don't know, those press tour things, man. I see those videos and I'm just like, I almost feel bad because have you guys seen those clips? Like, they look like emotionally unwell. Like, it's quite concerning. They say anything and they just burst into tears and stuff. It's really bizarre. Like,
gosh,
oh,
you
man.
are very good. You are very good.
This person has changed us for the rest of our lives. In what ways the person sitting next to you changed you for good?
Gosh,
Oh,
you
man.
are very good. You are very
Man.
good.
Oh my gosh.
Well, yeah. I think we found...
like, bro, it's just so uncomfortable. I'm sorry. Maybe this is just a dude thing, but I'm like, if somebody I knew were asked, what is the person sitting next to you? Like, how have they changed you for the better? I'd be like, well, you know, he reminds me, you know, my buddy here, he reminds me how important it is to appreciate the little things, how important it is to have fun, you know, something like that. I wouldn't just... Hold my hands. I don't think this is how normal, well-adjusted people behave. I don't get it. I don't get it. If a friend of mine were behaving this way, male, female, octopus, whatever, I'd be like, bro, let's go take a walk. Yeah, it comes off as performative. Yeah, it comes off as performative. I think that's a good way of putting it. They're not normal, though. I mean, I think this is just what happens when you love the smell of your own farts. I think that's what this is. It's like super self-indulgent, congratulatory, like, we're profound artists and we really have impacted each other and the world. And it's like, I mean, you sang a song in a movie about being green. You did good. Congrats. But like, let's not lose sight of what we're doing here. You're supposed to be entertaining, and now I just feel awkward. So that is your average theater kid behavior, TBH, though. I mean, honestly, yeah. I know a lot of theater people because I've done a lot of plays and musicals and stuff, and they're all insane. And they would even say it. They're like, yeah, we're all crazy. It's like a running joke in the community. But like, most people don't behave that way. And they find that to be a big turnoff. They're like, oh. Like, you're wearing your $10,000 outfit and your $15,000 necklace, and then you're talking about how important it is for, and how difficult this has been for you, this process, you know? And it's like, dry up. There's people that can't afford groceries. Shut up. You know? Like, well, I think it was Jim Carrey. Was it Jim Carrey who went on the red carpet and just did not play their game at all? It was his nihilistic clip. Yeah. I think he was trolling partially, but I want more celebrities to be like this.
I'm doing just fine. I just, there's no meaning to any of this. So I wanted to find the most meaningless thing that I could come to and join. And here I am. Gotta admit, it's completely meaningless. Boy, that is just the absolute lowest aiming, possibility that we could come up with. It's like icons. Do you believe in icons?
Like, she keeps being like, people say that you're an icon. He's like, what absolute meaningless trite garbage. And he just like tore it apart. He's like, we're a bunch of wealthy people coming in here doing it. Same with like Ricky Gervais. Do you remember that speech? Get your little award and F off. Yeah, this.
Apple roared into the TV game and doing the right thing. Made by a crisis, started a streaming service, a platform to make a political speech, right? You're in no position to lecture the public about anything. You know nothing about the real world. Most of you spent less time in school than Greta Thunberg. So, if you win, right, come up, accept your little award, thank your agent and your God, and...
It's what we're all thinking all the time. It's like, come up here, accept your little award, give yourself a pat on the back, and F off. You know, like, nobody cares. And it's why, like, somebody came in chat after the Oscars last year, and they're like, oh, did you watch it or whatever? Did you see whoever wore this on the red carpet? I'm like, I do not care. Like, they don't care about me. Why should I care about them and their super expensive outfit? It's like the weird, like you read the history books and you read about how in the 1600s, people would dress differently based on what the king was wearing or the different members of the aristocracy were wearing. If they wouldn't button one of their buttons on their vest, then everybody would stop doing that. If people like the Queen Victoria, she wore a lot of black, so everybody wore black. That was the hip thing. And we like, that seems so weird that everybody would change how they behave and everybody would be paying so much attention to what this select group of rich like royalty are doing or saying. That's so weird. Anyway, did you see what this person did on the red carpet? It's like we do the same thing now, dude. It's just instead of like people born royal, it's now just shifted and it's all about the celebrities that were in a movie you liked 15 years ago, you know? This is America. We don't do that king and queen BS. I mean, except for the real queen bee, Beyonce, of course. You're not allowed to critique her. I get people eat up the Beyonce music and stuff. I personally don't get it. Same with Taylor Swift. I'm like, I'm such a boomer, but it's like such like low grade pop music with no substance. Like at least Michael Jackson, he would write pop music, but it actually had like meaning and stories behind it. Like, or he would write a poem based on some bizarre painting he saw once and then turn that into a song. Like at least there was something there instead of just like, shake it off, shake it off. Shake you off. Stupid. Anyway. Cool Pandas, thank you for the 5. Theater people are sweet until they find out that you don't vote their way. I have a BA in theater and I got so sick of grown adults acting like children. I mean, I will say, in case anybody's not familiar with theater people, there is like a series of Puritan tests that go through and they apply to everybody. Sounds weird, sounds crazy, but like literally, if there was a case back in 2016 where after America had an election, one of the ladies that runs a theater company like went through and like was scrolling through Facebook trying to find if anybody insinuated they voted for one particular candidate. And if they did, they just happened to be on a list and never get called or cast again. Isn't that weird? Like stuff like that. It's I mean, it's like that clip from the Wicked press tour. It's like, yep, that's imagine an army of those people. Like just the most insufferable people you can imagine. Some of them very sweet. I love a lot of my theater friends, but it attracts a certain type of toxicity and out of touch type of person, and it's crazy. I don't think it's legal. Yeah, it's probably not, but the thing with all this theater stuff is like, unless they write down, we're not casting this person because of this, or we're not hiring this person to direct because of this. Unless you do that, they can always just say, well, no, we just didn't think they were right for the role. Same thing with Hollywood. Same thing with New York City. Like, there's a reason why most of these industries are kind of dominated by one side of the political aisle. Whether you're on that side of the aisle or not, is sort of irrelevant to the point. But anyway, KA, thank you for that. Dark Thought. Last time we called a public figure royalty, they went to Dallas and ate a bullet. Oh, did people call JFK? Well, I mean, I guess the Kennedys were kind of like quote unquote American royalty, so I guess they did kind of get considered that way. Let's see. Over on Twitch, thank you, Cheese in a Can, for the sub with Prime. Thank you, my friend. And Raiderman 318, thank you for the sub with Prime. That was 11 hours ago while we were not streaming. So thank you, my friend. Thank you for that. Trent, busy first few weeks at a new job. Good. I mean, hopefully it's a good job. My dad finally got a job too after he got laid off. He finally got a job and he's been eating it up. So it looks like the wheels are turning again. You know, people are actually able to get jobs. It's good. Let's talk about this real quick. New segment. I want to just say this so I can close the tabs. So, a scandal was a brewing. What's interesting about this is that I was working on some stuff and then I got tagged in a post about an article that just went up on Insider Gaming that seemed to make a pretty bold claim, I guess. Pretty bold claim. And basically what the article said was something that was not really justified. So this is the article, but it has been altered and corrected because of this problem that I will describe briefly. So the section that was here is no longer here, and it looks like we did not archive it because I was looking at it on my phone. So I don't have a copy of the original website, except that I did copy and paste the text in my reply to the tweet about the article. This sounds needlessly complicated, but bear with me. In the article, it makes two claims. The article claims, number one, based on this video from Mark Alexis Cote, who is like the guy. He leads all of Assassin's Creed, okay? They claim that he says that half of the devs working on Assassin's Creed, implying half of the devs working on Shadows, have never shipped a game before, insinuating that therefore it's going to be bad or an experience, whatever. The second claim they made is the one that was actually pretty severe, where they said, quote, according to Mark Alexis Cotier, the game's internal evaluation isn't promising either. The team behind Shadows considers this entry to be the weakest in the entire Assassin's Creed franchise, end quote. And that's what was in this article, okay? It was like right under the video where this note is that we'll talk about in a second. And I read that, I was like, that seems insane. If they're saying openly that this is the worst game they've ever made, what? And so I thought about it for 1, 2 seconds. What is the glaring issue with that claim? Besides the fact that there's no referenced source for it. The implied source is this keynote. This keynote was at XDS, External Developer Summit. So it is a large game developer conference where he was a keynote speaker. Can you think of why a guy who runs all of Assassin's Creed would go to a public event where his speech is being recorded and streamed in front of an audience? Why would he go and say that their upcoming massive game that he's here promoting is actually the worst one they've done? It has, in the words of the article when it was posted, the team considers it to be the weakest in the entire AC franchise. Doesn't make any damn sense. Why would he say that? He wouldn't. Why would you be like, okay, I'm here to promote my upcoming YouTube video. It's the worst one I've ever made, but it's coming soon. Nobody would ever say that. So that should immediately get the bells ringing and the red flags waving. We're like, that doesn't make any sense at all. And so I clicked on the little interview bit. And I just want to show you what they're using as evidence, or what they tried to use as evidence for this claim, okay? He's just talking about the dev process, and I'll just let him say it in his own words, okay? Listen for the part where he says this is the worst game they've done.
Notice since the pandemic is that we have a lot of juniors in our teams, and I don't know if this is something that's your case as well, but the seniority has lowered globally. And probably half the team that's building an Assassin's Creed is building a game for the first time.
So there's where you get the evidence of the claim in the first part, which is half of the people working on it are junior, which, okay, that is evidenced by this statement. Let's see the evidence for the second claim.
So they don't know. So you have to explain to them that even though they're playing the game right now and they think it's the worst thing they've ever seen, it's going to be good. Okay, we're going to get there, and explain that I've been there as a leader. I remember my first time on Assassin's Creed. Like it was July, and the game was shipping in October. And I was like, there's no way this thing ends up shipping. And 91 Metacritic. Oh, okay, this is good. So I was wrong, because, like, again, it's not good until it is, and you need to be try to be as transparent as possible about, like, the playtest results, the appreciation, what's working, what's not working, and I think it's this genuinely sharing with your teams is, in my experience, what has allowed me to maintain the communication channels open, making sure people can come and see me if they see a problem. So I think it's really about trust and making sure you don't break this trust with your team.
Did you hear the part where he said this was the worst game? Internal evaluations indicate this is the worst Assassin's Creed in the history of the franchise. Did you hear that? No? Me neither. What he said was, new people are playing this, and he says colloquially, and they're like, oh, this is the worst I've ever seen. But it's okay. We work on this. It gets better. It doesn't work until it does. He says, back with like AC2, we were a few months out. We're like, how is this going to come together? And then it does. 91 Metacritic. Boom, it works out. He just did not say what they claim he said. And that was my problem with this. So I said in my reply, I said, it seems this article intentionally takes him out of context and or makes something up for the second claim. You said, according to Marco Alexis Cote, the game's internal evaluation isn't promising either. The team behind it, Shadows, considers this entry to be the weakest in the entire Assassin's Creed franchise. But he doesn't say that in the interview clip. Instead, he's describing how every time they work on a big game, there's a feeling of hopelessness, but that they inevitably pull it together in the end. This article makes it sound like he is bashing his own upcoming game, which doesn't make any sense when you remember that this was a talk given at a developer conference in public, recorded, and streamed online. Why the fudge would he sit on stage and imply that his big upcoming game was the worst they had ever done? It's like you guys didn't even watch the interview you're allegedly quoting from or think about the claim you were making before posting this. If this claim is being made based on some other insider information or leaked email or something, that should be stated, but it seems like it's just a baseless claim built on an out-of-context quote from this talk, which is literally fake news. I understand it's fun to bash Ubisoft, perhaps more than most, but this is just dishonest or lazy or both. I normally like insider gaming, but this is embarrassing. At Tom Henderson, am I missing something here? Is there an additional leak or something to justify this claim? And a few hours started going by, and you can see like plenty of likes on this post. People tried, taking this, and a few people were immediately like, what? That doesn't make a lot of sense. A few, I can never remember the names, but a few YouTubers that are like the standard rage baiters, like, I mean, the types that just jump on whatever negative story for any company they can find, and then they just run with it. They started making videos, and they started retweeting this and be like, see, even Ubisoft knows it's garbage, even though it's literally fake news. So it started spreading and getting everywhere, despite just being totally unwarranted and nonsense. And if you think, well, Luke, we don't know if it's nonsense. Well, Tom, the owner of the website, came out and said at 3 a.m, a huge F-up occurred last night on Insider Gaming, on an Insider Gaming article. No other way to say it. And the article was corrected 45 minutes after publication with an issued apology. We've dealt with the issue internally and are implementing more robust practices to ensure it doesn't happen again. And the note they've added is an editor's note that says this article originally used a report from the Outer Haven that claimed the company considers Shadows the weakest entry in the series. That has been removed due to no evidence of that being said or reported. We apologize for the oversight and will ensure it does not happen again. That quote regarding junior developer remains as that is accurate, which I agree it is. But this is why you should still think critically, even from sites that have a pretty solid track record, which Insider Gaming does have a pretty solid track record. And to their credit, they corrected it. They removed that part. They issued an apology, a retraction, and then Tom also did it and put this out there. I still think that they should publish like a dedicated post to clarify, because there's still going to be people running with this. I guarantee in a month or two, you're still going to hear people saying and alluding to the suggestion that, well, their internal stuff said that it's the worst they've ever had, even though that literally is not true. It literally is fake news. And this is why, like, truth matters. Just because something goes along with a narrative you currently agree with or that you want to be true or whatever, does not mean that you should turn your critical thinking skills off. If this were true, Jacob can attest in chat. Jacob, I texted him when I got this sent to me and I read the title. I was like, this, and then it also, like, I saw the other claim in it, which has been removed, but that suggested their internal evaluation said that it was very poorly received. And I was like, that's enough for a video. So I texted Jacob and I was like, I think we were going to do a video. I think we're going to do it. And then after 5 minutes of looking at the speech, I said, Jacob, yeah, this is fake. Cancel it. It's made up nonsense. Because even if something is interesting or seems sensational, if it doesn't make sense, it's probably not true. And in this case, like, they literally gave the source. He doesn't say anything like that. They claim to be going based on a report from the Outer Haven, which also makes an unwarranted claim. And what I think happened is that there was this article from the Outer Haven. They took it. Let's see if we can do this live. We'll do it live. Can you write a short gaming article for a gaming news website about this same story? Link it. I think this is what happened. I think this is how they got screwed. I think that they just found an article, used some bot or something to rewrite it, and then posted it without critical evaluation of literally anything. And it's too bad, because that made up post has done damage unfairly. I think there's plenty of reason to levy critiques at Shadows and Ubisoft in general, but making stuff up is not fair to anybody, and it doesn't help the industry get any better. That's you literally just, like, furthering fake news and pushing out garbage. And that's stupid, and that should be unacceptable. So I encourage you guys to look out there, and I encourage you to keep an eye out for channels or for other outlets that report on stuff that doesn't make sense, that seems to be just made up, and to call them out for it so that, you know, retractions are made. And, you know, while, yeah, this isn't going to do that much brand damage, maybe to Insider Gaming in the short term, it's definitely going to make me look at them much more critically moving on. Because I'm like, okay, if like Tom, I've never seen Tom have an oopsie like this. This was a guy working for Tom. But it now makes me wonder, whenever I see something from this website, if they're just making stuff up. So it lowers their credibility. It makes me much more suspicious of the stuff that they do, as it should. As it should. So I encourage all of you to continue thinking critically about all of this stuff. Never take something for granted, even if it seems to be an interesting, sensational story. If it doesn't make sense, it's probably not true. Yeah, it's not about making the industry better. It's about spreading an agenda. This, I mean, I think what this is it's just people trying to make articles that get clicks and generate interest, which is their job. as people that write articles. But unfortunately, when you report on stuff and you say, this is what's happening behind the scenes, people will take that and run with it and take it as truth, when in reality, it's just made up. And it might have been made up by somebody else that wrote a different article your article was based on, but you still spread it. Like, you're still responsible for spreading it too. Whether you were the originating source of it or not doesn't really matter at the end of the day. So I think that, like, these sites, they got to be careful, because this is at the point where, like, there's been enough made up stuff put out about all sorts of games, whether it's Black Myth Wukong or Shadows or any of these other games, where there's some critiques that are super valid. There's others that are just total nonsense. And if these sites keep doing this stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some big, like, joint lawsuit from multiple gaming companies against some of these sites for spreading literal fake nonsense to harm their products. Like, wouldn't surprise me at all if something like that happened, you know? And do I think that should? No. I think we should hold the journalists accountable, and they shouldn't need to sue them and stuff. But if they continue spewing garbage and just making stuff up, then we have a serious problem. But at least with, like, the Black Myth Wukong hit piece that was garbage, at least they had posts from developers. And they had posts that they said, you know, where they said some very crude things. And they said, therefore, like, you can see some of the people working on the game are maybe not, like, the most maybe mature or whatever you would say. I would disagree with the premise that therefore the entire game should be boycotted, but at least there's, like, something there you're working with to try and make your argument. But with this, it literally was not anywhere in the interview. It was just made up. And you know, that's why this article was way worse than even that hit piece from IGN. Because at least the hit piece, it used some pieces of evidence. I think many of them were stretches. And even then, I don't see how they connected into this conclusion that therefore you should boycott the game. But at least they were working with something. With this, they were just making it up. Like, just literally making it up. So, anyway. I thought it was mistranslations with Wukong. What it was, we had somebody from China come and chat, and they kind of broke down the translations and kind of how it worked. Some of you might have been here for that. But basically, my understanding is that the translations that they made for that article were very, like, they were made with the goal of making the posts sound as crude as they possibly could have been. It was like, they were not just trying to translate it to get the most accurate translation of what the author probably meant. They were trying to intentionally make it sound really crude. It's like if you read an old poem where it describes, like, the heaving bosom of Mother Nature, and you mistranslate it into, like, the throbbing tatas of mommy Nunu. It's just like, okay, like, I guess that is a translation, but, like, that's definitely not what was trying to be communicated. So that's an extreme example, but that's basically what they were trying to do, is that they were trying to work the translation into a way that made it sound worse than the authors probably originally meant it. Some of the posts still were crude. Some of the posts still, I'd be like, if I saw that on my feed, I'd be like, okay, that person they got to go get outside, like, touch some grass. Like, that was a little much. But does that mean, therefore, that the game should be boycotted? I don't personally think so, because I think there's going to be weirdos working on every game, especially when you're talking about thousands of people working on them over years and years and years. So anyway, all that to say, they issued a retraction. They updated it. They say they've taken steps to avoid this happening again. I hope that is true, but I was quite disappointed when I saw that, because I've typically liked Insider Gaming. Tom Henderson has come into chat every once in a while and said hi. I typically like their stuff, but this was just, like, literal fake news, just made up, and I think it's unfortunate. But hopefully they fix it and we don't see it again. But if you see anybody coming out and spreading more of that nonsense, you'll know, because you heard it here. that it was made up, and maybe you shouldn't be paying that much attention to that creator if they're spreading this kind of thing, because it shows that they didn't even bother to think about it for 2 seconds to realize it does make sense. And certainly they didn't watch the interview to see that it was made up. So there you go. Tom Henderson doesn't come around anymore. Guess we should rename him to Tom Chickens and doo. Oh man. Edgar, thank you for the 10. You truly are a mad lad working after Thanksgiving. Here's an overpriced Denver beer on me. Thank you, Edgar. Appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah, yesterday was a lovely, lovely day. Got to hang out with the family. We hung out with all my brothers and sisters. It was a very good day because my family moved. They used to live in Wyoming. Last year they were in Wyoming, so we'd have to drive all the way up there, and you know, the whole drive, which sometimes could be sketchy because if it was snowing or something, like those stretches on I-80 or on 287, like they can be pretty scary when it's really blistery cold and snowy and icy and stuff. And the whole time you're driving, you're just praising Cobra's magic, hoping he protects you. But they moved down here earlier this year and they are very close now. And it's pretty awesome. I know a sexy goth bad boy who lives in Wyoming. Yeah.
That's most definitely what's up.
That is most definitely what's up. Blake, thank you for the 5. To go back to your music comment, yeah, a lot of those musicians put out soloist music. Metal artists are probably the most musically gifted people now. Yeah, anybody who thinks like metal or like those who can do screams or anything like that, like if they think that that's just noise, I feel like I think they're missing out, because some of the stuff they do technically in those songs is insane. Like once you actually appreciate and understand what's happening, it's like, Jesus, you know, it's like really, really impressive. Far more impressive than when somebody just gets up and is like, I met a girl and she really, really likes me. Like way more impressive to me, you know? Let's see. Okay, cut up there. Okay. You guys want to see something hilariously awful and stupid? Mostly just stupid. Mostly stupid. New segment. Tencent, the largest gaming company in the world, has revealed a new game. Again, Tencent, largest in the world. The biggest gaming companies of 2023 by revenue. It depends on how you break it down, I guess, because this says Sony based on that revenue. I could have sworn it was this, but maybe it's, I don't know. Maybe, is it just 2023 acquire? Okay. One of the biggest, we'll say that. Let's try this again. New segment. So one of the biggest revenue generating companies in the world, Tencent, which, I mean, Tencent owns a little bit of everything. They own bits of, look at this, Funcom, Inflection, Fat Shark, Miniclip, Don't Nod, Shift Up, Epic Games. They own 35% of Epic Games. Bluebird Team, they own 22% of them. From Software, they own 16% of them. Krafton, they own 14%. Paradox, they own 10%. Ubisoft, they own 10% of Ubisoft. Katakawa, which is the parent company of From Software, they own 6.86% of them. Like they own a little bit of everything. They own a bunch of Discord. They own a bunch of Roblox. If there is a gaming company, they probably own a sliver of them. They are massive, massive. Okay. They just revealed an upcoming game. That looks vaguely similar to another game. Does it seem to have a similar style to another game you might recognize? Maybe just a tad. Just a tad. A red-headed girl protagonist with robo dinosaurs. It's a little similar. So there's a little tad. It's a tad similar. They posted some side-by-side screenshots. Okay. Some side-by-sides of a few different creatures, such as a robotic woolly mammoth, a robotic fly thing. They posted some pictures. This is their game. This is Horizon. This is their game, or is this Horizon? I think this is Horizon 2. Bunch of different side-by-sides. The fact I can't tell the difference makes it all the funnier. I mean, it's pretty damn near uncanny. It's hard to tell the difference, honestly, in these screenshots. Now, everybody knows what they're doing. Everybody knows what they're doing. This is a pretty much one-to-one copy of Horizon. Now, they did post gameplay, and it seems like it plays much closer to a PAL world than it does to Horizon. It's also going to be coming to consoles, PC, and mobile. So it's one of those games that's built to scale. But this is what the gameplay actually looks like, okay? So it's like farming, base building. It's a pretty standard survival game. Let's see if they have a bit with some robo dinosaurs. Like here. So everybody knows what they're doing. Everybody knows what this is. It's pretty hilarious to think that, oh, it's just parallel thinking. Like, everybody knows what this is. The goal is, as far as I can tell, to maybe appeal to people who like the Horizon art style. And then to also maybe get lucky and trick some people into downloading this on mobile if they have seen Horizon and are familiar with the look and tone. And then they download this and like, yeah, this doesn't play like I thought it did, but it works for me. And they just go along with it. And I honestly think there's a lot of people that play games like that with like, oh yeah, I really like the look of Red Dead Redemption, but I've never played it. But I found this cowboy game that looks like it, sort of. And then you download it and it's like, oh, this is way worse than what I've seen about Red Dead. But I can work with it. And they just kind of hand wave it away and keep playing. Just that, the customer acquisition is a real difficult thing to get through in the gaming industry, especially on mobile. And if they can bypass that by having a game that looks like just a clone of another well-established game, then that gives them what they want. I imagine Sony tries to sue them because, like, it's pretty freaking hilarious. I mean, even down to the canisters, dude. The canisters are in the same exact spot. Like, come on. But it's one of the most blatant ripoffs I've seen. At least the gameplay is different. But I think it's different because it's easier to make a game like this than it is to make something like Horizon. But I imagine Sony tries to sue. The tricky bits. Oh, and then the Breath of the Wild. Again, it's like identical. The Breath of the Wild glider too. That's funny. But here's the thing. In order to get a lawsuit like that, at least in the US, to go through, you have to kind of, like, the key thing is damages, proving damages. What I think Sony could do is they could say there will be people who download this game. It has the Destiny thing too. Dude, it's unbelievable. They could say people are going to download this thinking it's Horizon. And we will miss out on those sales. And then those customers are going to be buying a product and getting into a product that they did not mean to get into because this is such a one-to-one carbon copy. I don't know how it works trying to sue people in, like, China because that's where Tencent's based. So I don't know if that makes it trickier. Obviously, China has a long storied history of copyright infringement, especially with the US and a lot of Western countries. I mean, it's like a meme at this point. The stereotype of the knockoff iPhone and stuff. Like it's a well-known thing nowadays, but I don't know if there is something they could do about it. I mean, it seems like a competently made survival game, very Pal World-esque, but like it's so clear that they're trying to rip off the style and everything of Horizon that it's like, I don't feel like this should be allowed. Like, they're getting called out for it now, but is that really going to affect anything? I don't think so. I don't think so. So one of the most hilarious things I've seen in a while, because it's not even like vaguely similar. Pal World, you could say like, oh, well, everybody knows like it's Pokemon, but it's its own thing. It has its own style. It's in a gameplay style that Nintendo and the Pokemon Corporation they've never really messed with. So I can appreciate that it's similar, but it's also unique in its own way. But this is just like straight up 1-to-1 Horizon until it's not. And but it's, I mean, the gaps where it's not are basically just in structure of gameplay. You're still fighting giant robot dinosaurs. You're still going through I guess the difference is survival, and then looks like maybe co-op is added too, but pretty hilarious. So so there's that. If Sony, I mean, Nintendo had their hands full trying to sue the Pal World devs, and now maybe Sony is going to get their feet wet with a lawsuit against these guys. Because, I mean, that's one of the most... the fact that the screenshots, it's hard to tell which is which, that's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. Yeah, it's like Horizon from Temu. Basically, yeah. Yeah. Anyway. JFD, I have a limit. If I only buy games when they're under 600, I think krona in Sweden, which is $60. If they are over, I wait nowadays. What do you think, Luke? Yeah, I think that's totally fine. If you have the patience and you're not somebody that gets like pressured by FOMO or the urge to play something at launch, just waiting is a great way to save money. Because all these games go on sale, like all of them. Sean, have you seen the new Endurance Lego? Yeah, did it launch yet? Did it launch? Because I remember we looked at it on stream, but it hadn't launched yet. The Endurance. Oh, it is out, but it's on back order. Oh. Yeah, I might need to get that. I might need to get it now that it's out. Noah Smith, I love your streams, man. I keep them on while I'm working, and it makes me feel like I'm hanging out with a coworker I actually like. Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Did you see Avowed's art director's meltdown on X? Yeah, dude. So much of this stuff. So when we were on stream, you guys were talking about it, and I was getting bits and pieces. I was trying to figure out like the whole story. After stream, I did some more digging, and I saw the full breakdown. I was like, bro, get off your phone. Like, it was unreal watching somebody just steadily dig themselves deeper and deeper and deeper into a hole. It was honestly quite impressive. But basically the spark notes is that Matt, he's been in some of the videos. Does anyone have a screenshot of the videos? I don't see any here, but basically he was in some of the videos. He's like the lead art director or whatever. But he made this post saying like, reminder, black artists out there looking for portfolio reviews or job advice, my DMs are open. You'll always have my priority. We got too many crusty white dudes in this field. Please let me help you replace me one day. I want to go back to living in the woods. And then there were other posts people found where he was like suggesting that he was going to like actively try to piss off Elon Musk in his game. When Elon said games like basically are too woke, and Chris Avellone, the co-founder of Obsidian and lead dev on games like KOTOR and New Vegas, he said director of Fallout New Vegas Pillars 1 and 2 won't work on Avowed. Director responsible for negative culture. Obsidian BioWare engaged in discriminatory hiring where they didn't want to hire white people into the roles. Like some pretty serious allegations here and there. But it sounds like, you know, one of those places where you have to be fitting in their exact boxes, otherwise they don't want you. Yeah, do you think our director's statements indicates a larger negative culture of the studio? Was it like shared or retweeted by anyone at the studio, especially an executive or another director? It's so sad. Pillars 1 and 2 are classics. Avowed looks like shovelware. And he said even the director of P1 and P2 won't work on Avowed, apparently. He doesn't want anything to do with it. Based on recent news, if you were rejected from an art position at Obsidian in the last few years, call a lawyer. Discrimination in hiring, especially for Microsoft Studio, can ensure you don't need to apply for a job ever again. Yeah, if you can apply for a job and then you or if you apply for a job, you file a lawsuit, they get discovery where basically they find out that this guy didn't want to hire you because you were white. Like, you're set for life. You're good. Now, because of one guy, does that mean the entire game should be disregarded and cast aside? Just like with those guys that worked on Black Myth Wukong, where some of them I think were very crude and immature in their posts that they made. I'm like, okay, yeah, no, there's usually some weirdos that are working on any game that you can find. Does that mean the entire project should be cast aside? Not necessarily, no. The difference here is that this guy is in a position of leadership and is making hiring choices he's attesting to. He's being very open, saying, yeah, I'm hiring and firing people based on like not being white. We don't want more white people here. There's too many white dudes that work here. Like, he's openly saying that he's discriminating based on race. And it's like, oh, don't love that. Don't love that. So, not great. Again, another prime example. Put your damn phone down. You're an art director on a video game. You're working in a dream role for a lot of people. Why are you on your phone making posts and tweets? Like, I don't understand it. Delete the app. Delete the app. Your life will be so much better. Yeah, it's terminally online. Like, that's what's so amazing is it's like, it's self-owning. Like, they're the ones that get themselves into this trouble. It's really amazing. It's really amazing. When, thank you for that 5. When Chris Avellone asked if Matt's tweet was retweeted by anyone, it was by Chris's co-director of New Vegas, Josh Sawyer. Really? Ooh. JFD, thank you for that. In Sweden, we take SNUS and beer and sit back and listen to you. And the Friday's perfect. 19:32 in Sweden right now. Oh, 7:32. Oh, nice. Yeah, it's 11:30 in the morning where I'm at. The day's just getting going. Yeah. The need for constant validation. Yeah, I really think that's what a lot of this social media addiction stuff is it's people that just need validation. It's like there was that one study they did on couples, and they found that couples that are more active together, so like they scrolled through their Instagram feed, and they looked at them, and apparently the couples which were in like posts and pictures together constantly, they actually, over longer periods of time, tended to have weaker relationships, and they tended to be reporting less happiness in their relationship than the couples who had Instagram feeds that were just their own stuff. And it was interesting because they're like, why would that be? And the working theory was basically that because the people that are posting together are kind of constantly seeking to like get validation in their relationship, and they're trying to show everybody how good their relationship is and this and that. Because of that, they aren't like actually dealing with the real relationship. They're putting on sort of a fake relationship out into the public sphere. Whereas the people that were just posting their own stuff to their own feeds, they were confident enough in their own relationship, in their own skin, that they didn't feel the need to get validation as a couple or whatever. And so they just didn't really need to, and they just did their own thing. And I mean, I can attest to that in my personal life. I know couples that you look at their social media feeds and you're like, wow, These people are like very, I mean, you know the type where they're just, it looks like out of a scrapbook. Everything is so perfect and the angles are perfect. The lighting's perfect. Their hair is always perfect. Their skin is perfect. They touch up all the photos and everything. But they are extremely bitter. They bicker back and forth constantly. Like, I don't really think they're happy. I've had talks with him about it, but it's like this difference between wanting to just be confident in your own skin and then seeking validation from elsewhere in who you are and in your relationship. And a lot of these people that are terminally online, I think there's part of that where it's like they're looking for something online, some validation or something that they aren't getting in their personal life, and they never find it, which is why they keep posting, or they get it and it's like a little bitty taste and it's not enough to satisfy, you know, where it's like, just put the phone down, your life will be better. And they just will not. They just are not interested in that. They're addicted to it, even though their life would be way better if they set the phone down. They just don't. Edwin, thank you for the 5. To me, this stuff always reads like white savior complex. As a person of color, when white people act like this, hold on, it's cutting off the text. Zoom out. There we go. When white people act like this, they've been on the internet too long. Yeah, there is some weird, like, let me help you, oh, weak person of color. Like, it's like, shut up, dude. If I'm a good artist, I'll get the job. Like, honestly, most of the like artistic like directors that I've ever met are fantastically talented. They deserve to be in that position. They don't need you to be like, let me help you out by shoving out all the white people. Like, it's kind of insulting to suggest that somebody needs you to do that for them to get the job, you know? Like, it's that bigotry of low expectations, basically. Let's see, where else was I? Brendan, thank you for the 5. The Josh Sawyer thing is so bizarre. He came up with the Pillars of Eternity universe, but had no role in Avowed, the big upgrade to 3D and Temple. It is a little weird. It is a little weird. Yeah. I just think I think there's something kind of toxic brewing within that studio, it seems. Because if that's what he's willing to say publicly, imagine what they're saying behind closed doors. That's the thing that I always remember is I'm like, if people are going to say stuff like this publicly, the stuff they're not willing to say publicly is always worse. So anyway, let's talk about this. Let's pivot off that, talk about something more fun. New segment. It's happening, guys. We're starting to hear rumblings and interviews and stuff about the next Witcher game. Now, I've been replaying The Witcher 3. I'm working on, what was that sound? Did something disconnect? That was weird. Did you guys hear that? The doo-doo-doo. Oh, there it is. Oh, it's my SD card. There we go. Okay, well. Anyway, I guess I can try that again, Jacob. Sorry. New segment. It's happening, guys. We're finally getting looks and tidbits about the upcoming Witcher game. I've been replaying The Witcher because I'm working on the big kind of retrospective revisit of the game where I kind of, I play back through it. I look at the critiques I made back in 2017, and then I kind of update them and see what I think of the game now with modern contexts and seeing what they did with Cyberpunk and everything else. And I still love The Witcher 3. There's definitely some clunk. There's some things that it doesn't do great that I would like to see them improve in future games. But in general, I love The Witcher 3 so much. And that came out in 2015. Cyberpunk came out in 2020 and took a little while to get updated, but now it's updated. It's getting there. And just a handful of days ago, we also started getting updates on the development process and where they're at in terms of like team assignments and stuff like that. So they posted this on their investor relations page where they said, You know, as of July 31st, 2024, they had 410 people working on Polaris, which is the next Witcher game. It's not going to be called The Witcher 4, but it'll be something. It's the next Witcher game. And as of October 31st, they had moved to 400 people and it had entered full production. So it was no longer pre-production. They were no longer finalizing gameplay systems and tools and stuff. That's done. Now they're just building the game. It's like they've got all of the instruction books, they've got all the Lego pieces, and now they're just building. They've got the bags all lined up in a row, numbered, and they're ready to just get it. You know, that's where they're at now. But they've started to do interviews talking about this project. And I'm here for it because they are trying to be more communicative. They're trying to be transparent. They're trying to be real with everybody and make clear kind of what their goals are, what their intentions are. And it all sounds very interesting. So earlier this week, CD Projekt joint CEO Michael Nowakowski announced the next game in the Witcher franchise, otherwise known as Project Polaris and unofficially referred to by most as just The Witcher 4. It's finally entered what he described as full-scale production, the most intensive phase of development. It's good news for Witcher fans, of course, although information remains incredibly thin when it comes to what exactly we can expect from the game itself, or even when we might hear more. All that's been publicly shared so far is that early phase development was confirmed back in March of 22, that the game won't focus, quote unquote, on previous protagonist Geralt of Rivia, and that Geralt's voice actor, Doug Cockle, will still be part of the new game in some way. There's a bajillion ways that this could go. The rumor has been for a long time that it's going to be a make your own Witcher, that it's going to be like fully custom character like a lot of RPGs. There's that as a possibility. I'd say the odds are also pretty damn high that they consider doing like a spin-off sort of game where you play as Ciri or something like that. All of those are possibilities. Hearing that basically Geralt will be in the game, it seems. It won't focus on him, but that suggests he'll be there out of focus. So that he'll be there and the voice actor will be there. That suggests that it's something around that time period. And maybe it's just, make your own Witcher, but it's when Geralt is really young, or it's when he's really old and he's just helping train you or something. Maybe that's what they do. But I don't think it's going to be just like a total reinvention of the wheel unnecessarily. Having spoken to a number of people from CD Projekt, including Nowakowski, over the past year for our long read on what happened with Cyberpunk 2077 and how the company turned it around, there are a few nuggets of info we can share that might help piece together some extra context. First up, a bit of chatter about process, albeit chatter that leads into a few other little hints of what we can expect about how things are going. One of the few other tidbits of already public information is that CDPR has moved away from its own bespoke internal Red engine to the more widely adopted Unreal, which is owned by Epic. Quote, I know a lot of people are curious about it, so I'll try to explain, said CDPR's Vice President of Tech, Charles Tremblay, earlier this year, Riley joking that the decision has been, quote, very polarizing question in general for the company and for everyone. He explained that, contrary to popular belief, the Red Engine wasn't the specific cause of the studio's troubles with Cyberpunk's development, and nor was its severely troubled launch the key reason for the switch. Quote, the first thing I want to say, to be sure, 100% clear, is that the whole team, myself included, are extremely proud of the engine we built for Cyberpunk. So it's not about this is so bad that we need to switch and, kill me now. That is not true. That is not true. And this is not why the decision was made to switch. Instead, it came down to the developer wanting to have multiple projects in development at once, namely the next Witcher game, the further off Cyberpunk sequel codenamed Orion, and the still distant new IP codenamed Hadar. Quote, the way we built stuff in the past was very one-sided, like one project at a time. We pushed the limit, but we also saw that if we wanted to have a multi-project at the same time, building in parallel, sharing technology together, it is not easy, he said. But that is easy with Unreal when Epic is the one doing all of that work. The other factor was the developer felt that it could benefit from, quote, having a good partnership with Epic and working together on the technology, as Tremblay put it. We can also help them to achieve their vision to do open world games. And also they can help us too from some technical perspectives on some of the aspects that we would like them to, and that we would like to not have to be focusing on as much, because in the end we are a game company, right? In other words, it's a decision made with the intention of getting more of CDPR's developers working on the games themselves. And this is something I've heard from a lot of different people. I actually heard this from a BGS, a former BGS developer, who was like, I love making games. I don't love wrestling with an engine. Like, I want to make video games. I don't want to be trying to figure out how to make this level load properly so that the floor stays as a physical object. It's like, that's not where the passion lies. That sucks the soul out of everybody that's working on it. He's like, let engineers build the stuff that we use, and then let the artists and developers make the games. Like, let's just not stress about it. And I think that that's been a problem for a lot of these big studios, is the bigger they get, the more ambitious the games get. They sort of have to turn into a software engineering firm that's making a game engine. And then it also has another team that makes video games with that. And it's just not that practical after a little while. They go on, we can share expertise, share people, share knowledge. And also we want to be sure that we develop some of the technology correctly this time around with our expertise. We know how to do things with the experience we had in the past. And now it's time to actually make it shareable across all the groups. The other piece of this too is that most students work in university with Unreal Engine, because it's something that they can very easily get on all of the students' computers, and you can train with it. There's special deals for education licenses and stuff like that. So a lot of students come out of university knowing how to work with Unreal Engine, meaning you don't have to hire somebody and spend 6 months training them how to do stuff on the toolkit. You just have it, and they just start work, and then they can, maybe there's some unique tools that you use and some unique processes or something, but in general, it's much easier to just let them get into it. Like, you guys remember, we watched that video of Will Shen. You remember that video of Will Shen? I can pull it up. Yeah,
make sure there were no.
Here it is, transcript, and then it was when he said he was making tutorials. Oh, I'm like on that point.
Could see it, because we needed to make sure there were no
So background, lead quest designer on Starfield, worked at BGS. The second they got bonuses, he quit and left to go work at a different studio. And this is a speech he's giving in San Francisco back in March about the development process over at BGS and kind of how dysfunctional it was. But he's about to describe how much of their development process was now tied up in like documentation, in using Confluence, Slack, OBS and stuff, all of that, because this guy, the lead quest dude, had to spend a lot of his time making tutorials to teach new employees how to use their tools.
like hallway conversations that was hiding work that was being requested. And finally, we had to do a lot more tutorials. So I was in OBS Studio a lot making video tutorials. So in Fallout 4, when I needed to teach someone the tool set, I would just sit down with them and answer their questions. But now we were working with people from around the nation, sometimes around the globe. I often didn't know when they would need me, and I often didn't know who might need me or what they would need to know. So it became absolutely critical to do a lot more tutorials and how-tos about every feature of the toolkit.
Again, it's so crazy to me that you have a senior developer who is having to spend time making tutorials. That seems like that's something that should, like, it sounds bad, but should be beneath him. Like, he should be making bigger decisions. He should be working more on, like, big picture ideas, on how to make the quests more engaging, on how to do this, on how to do that. Like, spending time filming tutorials is ridiculous. But that's also one of the benefits of having a tool set that's more familiar to more people, is that they can get into it much faster and you don't need to spend all that time. Or because of this partner with Epic, you could just have Epic go and create a series of tutorials for you with their media team, because Epic has a huge media team, and just be like, hey, can you make a tutorial on how to use this toolkit for onboarding new employees? Like, yep. Bada bing, bada boom. So let's see. Yeah. So the idea was that we can push the technology. We can finally have all the technical people in the company working together on different projects rather than super centralized into one technology that can be very difficult and shared between projects. We can share experience, share people, share knowledge, and also wanted to be sure that we developed some of the technology correctly this time around, blah, blah, like I said. One of the major lessons for CDPR after its issues with Cyberpunk was the studio's difficulty with balancing its ambition, the confidence in delivering on that ambition that bordered on magical thinking, as joint CEO Nowakowski put it to me, with the realities of the studio's rapid growth and surprise obstacles of COVID-19. But Tremblay, as well, or as with many other developers at CDPR, maintained that the team's ambition itself remains undimmed. Again, I will not say it's easy, he added, but I think that we have some cool stuff going, and hopefully that that will have some good showcase of the technology. The only thing I will say is that changing the tech for us does not change the fact that we will always be ambitious. And the next game will not be smaller, and it will not be worse. I'd hope so. So it will be better, bigger, and greater than The Witcher 3. It will be better than Cyberpunk, because for us, it's unacceptable to launch that way. We don't want to go back. Even if there will be some sweaty moments and maybe even some bad stuff happening, still, I think we will try everything we can to make it even more than what we achieved in the past years. So the technology should not be a blocker for us, basically. I mean, I'd hope so. I'd hope that it's bigger and better than what you did before. That should always kind of be the case, but okay. Coming back to the next Witcher game, moving up to full-scale production, Tremblay also explained part of what that process looks like for CDPR. Tremblay's recent role since moving up from being very much in the trenches on Cyberpunk has been to pretty much oversee the tech development across all the products, as he described it. One aspect of that includes speaking with the various game directors across the studio's projects in North America and Europe, reviewing what they're doing, challenging them, improving when we go, and then making recommendations to the board about whether the studio is ready to press on with a project on the technical side of things. This is a new process for CDPR, or a new process CDPR brought in as part of its response to Cyberpunk at launch, with the studio allowing more time for pre-production and conducting regular reviews on whether the technology is ready for each individual project to move forward, including in some cases delaying that step where necessary. So literally, this is interesting. So they literally are reviewing projects during pre-production, and then they are having technical directors tell the board of directors whether the tech is ready to go into full production for what they want to do. So the example would be like, oh, you want to do full NPC sim in this big medieval city for The Witcher 4. Okay, does the tech support generating that many NPCs and their day-night cycles and their activities and stuff like that? Do we have that tech ready to go? And they only move on to full development once the tech directors sign off on all of that, that the tech is actually ready. I like that. That sounds good. Like literally relying on the experts to say when it's ready, and then you move to the next step. I like that. How it works and what we're doing, Tremblay explains, is basically we have different stages of the project where we have different requirements for tech. Then basically with me and the tech directors, we nail down, we agree on this is what we want to nail, and we work together to make sure this happens. Then if we go into pre-production, we will prepare all the tooling to scale up the production and the number of content people. If it's not ready, or if it's just a specific thing that is not ready, then we can discuss, okay, what can we do next? How are we going to approach it? And we can also discuss whether to delay as, not as in delay release, but delay in terms of like before we scale up production. And then we go to the board or the other people and we discuss the reason why, and it's usually perfectly fine. It's easy to discuss in a very pragmatic approach that, like, this is why the reason we cannot go forward with different environments with the production is because they are not ready. And if we do so, we'll pay later because everything they will do will not work. We'll have to go, as with Cyberpunk, catch up during production. We don't want to do that again. So again, it just sounds like they took some lessons from Cyberpunk 2077's launch and don't want to get ahead of themselves trying to do something that their tech cannot support, which that's kind of refreshing because not many studios do that nowadays. A lot of studios are like, yeah, we'll figure it out later. We'll figure it out. You know, that's the old story where it was almost word for word. Basically, after like the rough launch of Fallout 4 moving into Fallout 76, there was reporting that people within Bethesda were saying, we'll pull it off. We'll figure it out. We made Skyrim. We made Fallout 4. We can do this. We can get Fallout 76 working. It didn't end up working, but they said that. And with Cyberpunk, there were stories that came out where a lot of people, I think it was in Jason Schreier's article, people said, this isn't working, this is buggy, this isn't ready for launch. And directors were saying, just be calm. We made The Witcher 3. It'll work out. The magic will work out. And it didn't. But they now are very clear that they don't want to run into that problem again. So they are trying to avoid it. He suggested a good example would be like console builds not working. So having the console working super late, it's unacceptable anymore, and it's part of our process. So we do the reviews on console, so we know exactly where we are on all the platforms. The lower platforms we have, rather than, you know, oh, PC is fine, so we can go forward. So we changed this approach to have a broader visibility on the other platforms we want to have. When it comes to the next major games launch, major games launch, Tremblay also gave the rough steer on what the studio strategy will be when it comes to those additional platforms. One of Cyberpunk's major development struggles came from its issues with last-gen consoles and their hard drive write speeds. For example, read writes. Yeah, hard drive read-write speeds. I asked whether CDPR would consider an approach similar that Larian took with Baldur's Gate 3, where it launched on PC first and then consoles a few months later to buy a little more time. Ironically, Larian boss Sven Vicky later explained this was partially to also avoid some major releases at the time, including the Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty expansion, which is kind of funny. It's something we discussed, actually, Tremblay told me, but we're not 100% sure. Maybe, so it's hard to say if we want to go this way at this stage. I would assume that as long as I understand like the strategy we want to do, I'm just trying not to say too much, bear with me. Most likely the launch, we will not have a PC-only launch, for example. I don't think this is a strategy we want to adopt right now. That being said, will it mean that we will have, let's say there were 20 platforms available, we'll have 20 at launch? Maybe not, but at least PC only, then scattered. It's not necessarily the approach we want moving forward for sure. I interpret that as they probably come out on the PS5. So, well, I guess it depends on when it comes out. Because my guess is this is still about 3 years away, which would put it 2027, still before next-gen consoles, most likely. So my guess is that they will have it on like PS5 and Xbox Series X, maybe not S, but X. They might have to play hardball with them. But as for like other platforms with like handhelds, the rumored Xbox handheld, the rumored PlayStation handheld, that stuff probably not supported at launch, but maybe later. It's kind of what it seems like. Meanwhile, Pavel Sasko, the lead quest designer on The Witcher 3 and is now the associate game director for Project Orion, the Cyberpunk sequel, also shared a bit of extra content on Cyberpunk's development team sizes and timeframes. Firstly, in the case of Project Hadar, the studio's new IP. I spoke to Sasko twice for Eurogamer's big Cyberpunk 2077 article, the first time as far back as spring of 23, the second time in the spring again of this year. Back in 2023, Sasko described the Hadar team as incredibly tiny, not incredibly tiny. It's a small group of people that are putting like a small concept board into that. And it will become a game because you need to slowly get there, but it's in its early stages, right? It's not a full-blown production where we have like 600 people team working on it. Come spring 24, there was a smidge more detail. Nothing Hadar is still in early stages. So in that ideation phase, or however you call it, it requires constant communication, bouncing ideas. The Boston-based team that's focused on the Cyberpunk sequel, meanwhile, is what he described as, quote, a pretty tight core team composed of out of the directors that have been shipping Cyberpunk and Phantom Liberty. Part of the studio's decision was to set up there alongside proximity to some of the top universities and tech companies for recruitment, and the ability to become one of the biggest players on the US's East Coast was to straddle the time zones of Vancouver, which houses a CDPR studio composed of mostly engineers, and Warsaw, which is now mostly art. The Cyberpunk sequel team remains fairly small for AAA, he said at the time. Again, this is, people forget about it, but like being close to universities and tech companies for recruitment, that's a big deal. Talent's a big deal. In that Mark Alexis Cote interview that we talked about earlier in the stream, he was saying how, like, in the full interview, you can hear him. He says, right now, one of the problems is that the talent, the seniority that we need for these projects is just not really there. It's really, really difficult to find hardcore experienced talent. It's really tough. There's just not that many people that have 10, 20 years of experience, that have shipped 4 or 5 games, that have done really well. That talent is just not really there. It's extremely rare. A lot of those people have spun off, done their own studios. A lot of those people don't want to get tied up into big corporate AAA development again, and they're good. Not for the pay they're offering. Well, maybe that's part of it. The pay could be part of it. They do pay pretty well. If you look at these job postings, I mean, some of these people in these senior roles are making 200, 300,000 a year. Like they get paid pretty solid, but game development is hard. You work on one thing for 5-6 years and it might still flop because the board of directors decided to cram extra microtransactions into it, or because it happened to be in a genre that's really unpopular at that time, 5 years after you started working on it. You know, there's just a lot of frustrations that come with working in a big corporate world versus working in a smaller team where you know everybody and it's your game to control. You know, it's not always about money, you know. Sometimes it is, don't get me wrong. Sometimes it is just a matter of money where people aren't being paid well. But a lot of these studios that are like top of the industry pay pretty well. From Software does not. From Software does not pay very well, but that's kind of an exception. A lot of these more Western gaming companies like EA, like Ubisoft, for example, apparently pays really well. A lot of these big guys pay well. Just say Concord already. Yeah, I think everybody got paid really well on Concord. I'll tell you what. I think everybody made bank on that, except for the company that made it. I think they were all swimming in it. Let's see. Thirdly and finally with Sasco, there was a little discussion of the Witcher studio. Quote, that team is probably the biggest team, the team that took all the Witcher Cyberpunk devs on board and is working on their game. I don't know certainly the exact number, he said. It's like a couple hundred there as of around March of this year. Notably, that's a bit earlier than this recent announcement that full-scale production had begun. It's tempting to infer that fairly significant pre-production work has been going on for a little while before the public confirmation. But then it's worth remembering that Tremblay's explanation of how that new process works. It may be that this time has been spent getting the technological side of things ready for the full development started in earnest. Likewise, a few hundred isn't as big as it sounds for CDPR these days. While around 300 people worked on The Witcher 3, 350 worked on Phantom Liberty alone. The studio now employs something in the region of 1,400 people worldwide. Yeah, but I mean, they employ 1,400 people, but not all of those people are devs. There's a difference. There's a difference. Sticking with inferences, there's also one more bit of information we might be able to glean this time from a conversation with joint CEO Michael Nowakowski. Like a lot of developers I spoke to from CDPR, he described his mindset on the studio's future releases. Quote, optimistic. I feel optimistic because I'm, in general, an optimistic person. But on the more realistic side, I think that's actually part of why I'm optimistic. is I think we are aware as an organization that, let's say, what was one example with Phantom Liberty coming back to 95%, currently 94% on positive Steam reviews, nothing is granted forever. And I think it's something that's important, that it's important for us to understand. And I think also for all the people in the company, there's no magic. There's only hard work and making sure you stay on the right course. With future games, he added, quote, with The Witcher or, with Cyberpunk in the future, it's only down to us. Everything can fail, but it's our role to make sure it doesn't. And remembering and understanding that I think is the biggest reason for me to be optimistic, because in the company, everyone's constantly worried, but worried in a good way, if you know what I mean. Worried that we're going to do it in a good enough way. Are we for sure not letting something slip through our fingers? And if you're that kind of worried, I think that gives us better chances of being successful in the future than thinking we can't fail because we're too big or too whatever, noses up our somethings. And this makes me, this is good. Excuse me, sneeze came out of nowhere. I think that's a good thing. What's the story that's been told time and time again this year? It's this sort of toxic positivity where nobody wanted to be critical about anything with Concord or with Suicide Squad. Nobody wanted to come out and say, this isn't going to work. This is a bad idea. It just was not allowed within the company culture. If you said anything like that, you were considered a hater or something like that. Whereas here you can see that they're describing a situation where they're constantly doubting, is this the right choice? Are we doing the right thing? Is this not good enough? We need to figure this out. That anxiety, that careful consideration, that's crucial. And I think that's really, really good. I think that's good. Could just be corporate talk here, but I think this is more candid than you would typically hear with corporate speak, where people are like, well, we're really excited for the future projects and we think people are going to love it and shareholders are going to eat it up and it's going to be amazing and fantastic. This seems much more candid. One of the specific lessons the studio took from Cyberpunk, which was, or has particular relevance here, to bring things back to the next announcement, was to be smarter in how we want to announce and kick off marketing campaigns, he said. To be honest, when we were kicking off the marketing campaign officially with pre-orders, which was with Keanu on stage, the moment in E3 2019, the plan was actually to launch roughly 1 year later. It just didn't really work. So we didn't really plan for a 2-year campaign, and we still think that 1 year would really be fine in terms of time for a promotional campaign of that game. The studio learned a lot of good practices from that experience, so announce the date when you're really, really sure of it, and now I think we have much better tools to be sure of that date, which we, on a smaller scale, proved to ourselves with Phantom Liberty. While that campaign lasted around 6 months, given it was only an expansion, Nowakowski added that for a new game, we would still expect a slightly longer, but not 2-year lasting campaign. So probably a year to year and a half is the max that they'd be comfortable with, is what that sounds like. Having said that, I want to stress it doesn't mean we would not tease or drop some cool assets before a full reveal, because the marketing campaign slightly earlier before the launch of the game, that's different than the actual, say, Mass Attack. Mass Attack is when you announce the date, start collecting pre-orders, and it's really that race from that point, that moment to the moment that you launch the game. For example, he said, if I ask you, what do you want to know about The Witcher 4? The answer is not much. Probably yes. There's theories and so on, but there's nothing really specific. Or what do you know about The Witcher 4? Not what do you want to know? So we want to drop the crumbs here and there so people in the media as well can, pick up on it and try to figure it out, what we're trying to say at that time. So that is something we can start doing a little bit earlier. That would involve aspects such as having some video assets or something to whet the appetite of the fans, not even to create the hype so much, he said, as to simply get the early conversations flowing. Another note on platforms too, another big thing the studio took from the mistakes of Cyberpunk was what they described as the focus on target platform. During marketing from the off, quote, I think what put us into a lot of trouble is how late we started with the PS4 and Xbox One back in the day. And we don't ever want to be in that same spot again. What can we take from that? Well, expect at least a year, but most likely less than 2 years between Witcher 4's proper reveal and its actual launch. Expect possibly some light teases or short trailers a little earlier than that. We probably shouldn't expect a firm commitment to platforms early on, nor a PC-only release, although plans can, of course, always change, and hopefully a Phantom Liberty is a guide, and if those lessons truly have been learned, expect CD Projekt Red to launch The Witcher 4 a lot closer to the first release date it gets. And purely to speculate, the Game Awards, known for their hefty emphasis on major reveal trailers and teases, are just around the corner too, and CD Projekt has put some weight behind Keighley-powered events such as SGF before, most notably with the Phantom Liberty expansion reveal. We might see the first of those breadcrumbs quite soon. Do you guys think we see some teaser for The Witcher 4 at the Game Awards? Do you think we see that? Do we need to do a poll? I kind of expect them to do like a teeny tiny like Twitter post or something in a year or two. I don't expect them to do it at this, but do we see a teaser for The Witcher 4 at the Game Awards? Yes, no. Create poll. Copy. Paste. There you go. Into both chats. I personally don't think so. Maybe a breadcrumb, if they mean a breadcrumb. Like, I just can't imagine a video. Like, if they're suggesting, like, at the Game Awards, I think that you would only ever see something bigger, but who knows? Maybe they bring out, like, the CEO and they bring out something and they just say, like, hey, here's the logo. Or you remember that old video, like the original announcement of God of War Ragnarok? Do you remember that? Yeah, this. From the PS5 showcase. It was literally just snow.
You must prepare yourself.
$2021. Oops. Yeah, it's maybe they do something like that where you just hear Geralt go, "It's Morbin time." Maybe we see that, but I don't think we see anything more than that. Something like that minus the date. Yeah, just something. I think you could maybe see like, yeah, the wind's howling. You could do something like that. That I think is possible. I still don't really know. I mean, it's interesting that they're being so public about this, but they also just had their quarterly update, and I don't know, I think it's early. Because again, I still think it's somewhere between 2 and 3 years out still. I think. Maybe it's different being on Unreal Engine. Maybe they can work faster. Maybe that's it. But I personally would be shocked if we got something. I'd be very excited, but I'd be shocked. Maybe something like what Hellblade 2 did, where they shut off the cinematic and there was nothing done at that point. Yeah, apparently that cinematic was like just proof of concept, but they didn't actually have anything from there. Maybe they do something like that. I just think like when they say a little breadcrumb here or there, I imagine like what some of the stuff that they'll do where they post like, oh, here's a random picture of a tree, and then it's got symbols carved into the bark. And then the internet goes detective mode and they solve it and translate it 15 different times, and it ends up suggesting we'll find out something more in 6 months. Like, I think that's what they're going to do when they start dropping breadcrumbs. I don't think of like a video like that being one of those breadcrumbs, but maybe I'm wrong. Isn't The Witcher 1 remake further along in development? It's not really clear. I still am not sure when they expect that to be coming. Do, 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 do. Let's see. Yeah, Canis Majoris expected to grace our screen sometime after The Witcher 4, wishes itself. Most likely expecting a release somewhere in 2026 or 2027. Okay. That would be my expectation, is something like that. Yeah. So after The Witcher 4, it seems. After that. AP Films, thank you for the 5. I want your honest answer. Do you think another Sly Cooper game will be made? Maybe like a remaster remake. I don't think it's getting another full big budget like AAA thing. Maybe it'll be like Cyberpunk V where you can customize them fully, but it's the same base character. Yeah, they might do that where it's like what do they call you in The Witcher 3? Puss Peepers. Maybe you're just known as Puss Peepers. And it doesn't really matter. Or like Dragon Age Veilguard where it's like you're Rook. Everybody just calls you Rook. When do you think Fable will be shown off next? We might see it at the Game Awards. It's close. It comes out probably late next year. They might push it to 25 or to 26 rather. I'd be surprised if they did that just because I think a lot of these companies are fed up with delays and want to start getting stuff out the door. So we might see it. It sounds like the next trailer is going to showcase the male playable character. So you'll probably see some people that have like locked themselves into hating the game because of the female protagonist. When they see the male protagonist, their brains will break. So we'll see. Won't they save Fable reveal for a direct style in January? If they think it's big enough. Like, I think the dedicated reveals for single games doesn't actually help that much. I don't think it helps Starfield that much. I think you drop some good, strong trailers that people like, and then you release the game. Like, I really don't think they need to spend this much money on marketing for this stuff. If the game's good, people will be excited and they'll buy it and download it on Game Pass. Yeah, Fable always had male and female options, though. That's not new. I agree. Yeah, no, I totally agree. But there's a chunk of people that have locked themselves in. They're like, no, it's going to suck because look how ugly the female protagonist is. And so when the male protagonist is revealed, it's like, oh, well, what do we be upset about now? It's like, well, I don't know. If I like figure something else out, I guess. Let's see. Why make her ugly in the first place? That's the thing. I found her to look like a farm girl. I didn't think like she didn't get up there looking like she like I don't know. I'm trying to think of somebody like who's somebody ugly. My brain's dead. I didn't get the impression that they were like, ooh, let's make somebody ugly. I just think they weren't trying to make a supermodel, and therefore they're not a supermodel. As I've said a bunch of times, I don't think that's a reason to like not play a game. Like, I think that people are more upset about, I think, what they think it suggests or symbolizes, which is like, if they're willing to make the playable character not attractive or more simple, then that suggests that they are maybe like that's part of the agenda or whatever, which it might be. I don't know. But I'll just play with the male playable character if it's that big of a deal. You know, Danny DeVito. There you go. Yeah, she ain't no Danny DeVito. Yeah, she's an Amish 20 and an LA 7. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Should we talk about this? New segment. I'm not ready for 2025 because my backlog is 20 plus games deep. Please send help, dude. It's 2025 is going to be a lot. I don't think anybody's ready. Like, there's going to be so much. Just February, like, is going to be too much. We'll have Kingdom Come. We'll have AC Shadows. We'll have Avowed. We'll have the new Yakuza game where he plays a pirate. And then we also will have Monster Hunter Wilds, all within like a week and a half or 2 weeks. Like, goodbye free time. It's going to be crazy. Like, so much. So buckle up, buckaroo. Okay, let's talk about this. It happened, everybody. It happened. Reviews on No Man's Sky have shifted from positive to very positive, marking the completion of a journey that took 8 years to complete. They are actually here. They've done it. They've shifted into that realm. Very, very impressive. It's also been nominated for Best Community Support. I think, again, they keep getting nominated for this year after year because they do a very good job with it. Tons of free updates and free releases and stuff. It's really, really remarkable. And I thought it could be fun to look back at a video from the one and only Krabby Cat from 8 years ago, looking at No Man's Sky at launch and in the lead up to launch, and to see where they launched at and to see how far they've come, because they've done a lot.
All right, guys, we have
Leather Jacket Jeff. Oh man. They don't make them like this anymore.
a lot of world premieres still to go. We got Hello Games' first next-gen game. It's called No Man's Sky. Check it out.
Dude, I remember when this came out, there was like a sort of, it was an arcade. I've talked about it before on stream, but it was called All That in a Bag of Chips. You pay $5, you got a little bag of chips and a cookie and then the soda in it. And you could go in there and you could play whatever games you want. They had all the new consoles, all the new games, and it was awesome. And that's where I tried No Man's Sky for the first time. Like, relatively fresh out of high school, because this was 2016. I graduated in 2015. So, I'm a youngin', and getting to play No Man's Sky for the first time on that, and it was a broken pile of garbage. But weirdly enough, the station that had this game was like the most popular. Everybody was lined up to try it because everybody was so curious if it was that bad, because I think it was the full price. It was like $60. It was the full thing. And so everybody was really, really curious. Yeah, this was it. All That in a Bag of Chips. It was awesome. It's gone now. I think it's like a spa or maybe a barber shop now, but this was the station under the Harambe. This was the station that had No Man's Sky. I still remember it like it was yesterday. Then each of these little cubicles, they had side-by-side screens so you could all play GTA Online together in one dedicated private server. It was really cool. But that's this TV screen that I played No Man's Sky on for the very first time. Right there. Right there. That's the thing. Different times, man. Different times. But that's where I experienced it way back then.
Thank you. This universe that we've created, it's so vast, it's so boundless, it's actually infinite. And we don't even know what's out there.
We should know what's going to be in this game.
Not all.
Well,
It's
procedurally generated.
Yeah, there are
totally random.
Millions of planets.
Let's talk about procedurally generated and how bullshit that is.
No.
Because
Dude, I live. Can somebody in chat real quick? Can somebody in chat try to find this video, this original video? Oh, maybe he has it linked. Funhouse. Maybe this is it. It is. Oh God. Now I want to watch this, dude. Let's talk about procedurally generated. I love this because like there's nothing that makes me more proud than seeing somebody be like skeptical and critically thinking about something when everybody else has drank the Kool-Aid. A lot of these guys I recognize. This guy, Lawrence, I think this is Lawrence, Bruce. We actually played together on the same team at a preview event for the finals. Like never saw his face, but we talked and we were on the same team. I don't remember this guy's name. I don't know this guy. 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 But these are like easy or Funhouse interview about it. And like I live for it when somebody's thinking critically and everybody else is drinking the Kool-Aid.
Let's talk about procedurally generated and how bullshit that is.
No!
Face palms, shrugs. It's like, it is kind of BS as far as marketing. The game is limitless and infinite. It's like, you can do pretty much anything with procedural generation, okay? So, I mean, to act as though that's like a definitive answer to quality and scale, that's a little stupid.
Because procedurally generated games are fun for like 2 hours, and then you start seeing the same pattern
You're right.
over and over and over
Minecraft
again.
isn't a giant fucking hit.
That is a hit because of mods, not because of the base game.
What?
I don't think I agree with that. I don't think.
Minecraft is totally.
You're getting booed, school.
Yeah, Microsoft bought it because of the mods.
Listen, I've played Minecraft since it was an alpha when you could only do creative mode.
Right.
So
all right, let's win it back over. One thing I know.
Yes, the base game is fun, but it took off because of mods and all the servers and all the crap that you can do with it.
I mean, the servers definitely did help it. I see what he means with that. Like, yeah, that is a big deal. So, yeah.
You're wrong. The earliest videos that made Minecraft a hit were CNNers videos, right? In which there were no mods. 0 mods. And everyone's like, I want to play that game. That looks fucking...
Okay, we've kind of lost track of what we're talking about. But I'm going to watch this whole thing because I love these old videos. Because hindsight's 2020. This is November 2015. Okay, like this is old school. And man, I live for it. I live for it.
This is the galaxy, and every one of those stars is its own solar system. So it's like 18 quintillion planets.
Were you ever worried the game might get boring after visiting the first trillion planets?
Dude, I forgot he went on Colbert. Like Sony sent him on so many major outlets and all over the place to do interviews and stuff. And he didn't want to do any of it. Like he was just an engineer, just a software engineer, wanted to make a game. They got this big funding deal with Sony to put this game out there. And I feel so bad for him. Like he was so out of his element.
Those have life, ecology. And I could even go a little faster. Most of these places have never been visited. Many of them never will be.
We've gotten the same demo 3 times.
Oh,
you're
this
like,
one.
Okay, right, you're pulling out their stars. I got it. And he's just like, I can go to this planet and like shoot stuff.
Every planet in every solar system is fully destructible. Over there, in the distance, is the center of the galaxy.
I need a hook. I need the thing of No Man's Sky. I need to know, okay, we're getting to the center of the galaxy, great, but what am I doing? I'm going to a planet and I'm just smelling the flowers and then I fly somewhere else? What is happening in this game?
It seems almost like an everything game.
So No Man's Sky,
Right.
what am I doing? What do I do?
We can create like an entire universe, right? And just set players loose in it. And they can do whatever they want.
And it just, here's the thing. You say you have infinite possibilities. Like, there's infinite things you can do. There's
I
not.
don't think there's infinite.
You can fly here, you can land, then you can take off again and go somewhere else and land. And you can
I always just live for this guy's reaction because he's like trolling with everybody and laughing it up. I'm not sure what this guy's deal is. I don't think he's in on the joke. This guy definitely isn't. He's had 15 bottles of the Kool-Aid. But he like hams him up, and just watching his face in all these clips is priceless.
I hear you can land, then you can take off again and go somewhere else and land, and you can step out.
You can
and
say
shoot
that about
things.
any game.
But
GTA, you get in the
Right?
car,
And
shoot
you have an
someone.
inventory, and objects go in, and then you can take them other places. That's like 8 possibilities.
And we don't want to tell people how to play the game. They can play it whatever way they want.
I want to know. And people get frustrated when you ask about details. They're like,
but
hey,
the way
hey,
there's-
you want details about this game?
It's about fucking doing whatever. That's all it is.
There is no point.
What if whatever is
There is no point, and that's the point.
upgrading myself? That's
For
my
you,
whatever.
that's what it is.
You're the
You
one
can
telling
do
me
that.
I'm doing it
You
wrong.
go mind that. I'm not telling you anything.
No Man's Sky is gonna be the biggest video game ever. You can do whatever you want.
Sean Murray would not like you. He wouldn't like you.
Okay, so there's a prescribed.
That's still the most out of pocket. Like, okay, like Todd Howard wouldn't like you that you don't like Starfield. Cool. Like, good point. Like, whatever.
way to ask questions about this one particular video game.
Tell me about some of the different things that we will find when we visit these planets.
Well, in terms of ecology, like almost anything's possible.
So you can't score this game, right?
You can't.
I'm
It's
gonna
an
get
art.
it.
It's just an art game.
You can't score
Don't worry
it. It's
about
an
it.
automatic 10 by default.
Thank you.
I could have ended the demo with some, pre-scripted crazy thing that would happen. You know what I mean? The normal thing of like, and then a monster emerges from behind the mountains, That would be really misleading,
Because that's not your game.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do something really stupid. I've just got to pick one of these at random. If anything horrible goes wrong, just keep in mind that I've not been here before. Here, we're at the boundary between two warring factions. I could join in, I could take sides.
But it's such a bold idea. I mean, you guys are literally building your own, like, massively multiplayer world that's procedurally generated. And
I like Suit Jeff more. The leather jacket Jeff phase was not my favorite. This was like 2016. This was right after Todd came out for the Fallout 4 event wearing the leather jacket. I get it. He kind of made it a thing, but I don't think it's Jeff's style. I think Jeff is much more suit guy. I think that's the vibe. I think that's the key.
And, is there anything that this game doesn't have?
In our game, when you stand like on a planet and you see a mountain, and if that mountain is like 3 miles away or wherever it is, and you can see it, you can walk there, and you can go and you can explore it.
That mountain is not just a backdrop. You can walk all the way to the top of that mountain.
People go out, they can find resources, create products, and they can sell them at trading posts or at space stations. And everything just works.
All of this just works.
Don't you love how the language of hype is shared across so many different examples? Like, once you find somebody that's hyping people up, the other people that are doing the same thing, or maybe just focusing on salesmanship over quality first and foremost, they all share similar verbiage.
If it's possible, as stupid as it may sound, he points out, to shrink this tech down to one world and basically make an Elder Scrolls style game with more variety on one planet.
Oh man, I would. I can't give a short answer to that.
Is this a universe that you're building for your game, or is it just one galaxy?
It's a universe.
And then we'll get copyright struck if we look at it. Because it did not go over well. It was very buggy. It was very broken.
12 o'clock midnight.
Uh-oh.
To be super clear,
No Man's Sky is not a multiplayer game. Please don't go in looking for that experience.
He later added, the chances of two players ever crossing paths in a universe this large is pretty much 0.
Meanwhile.
Yeah, our streams are exactly lined up. If you go
It happened on the first day, dude.
Exact same area right now if you don't move.
There are infinitesimal chances of, very, very small chances of you even coming across a place that another player has been to.
Yep, that's the same one.
Two players finding each other on a stream in the first day, that has blown my mind. He also said that they added a scan for other players feature to the Galactic map to help encourage this kind of thing to happen.
No Man's Sky is not a multiplayer game. Please don't go in looking for that experience.
Oh yeah, then they stickered over it too. I forgot about that.
Something interesting about this. When peeling it away, Lay misprinted the thing on the box.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
Peggy 12.
Oops. The whole thing with No Man's Sky is it was very deceptive. I think they knew everything. Like they knew this wasn't. I just think like Sean got in way over his head. Way over his head.
This froze again.
Oh my god, are you kidding me? Did the game just crash? The PS4 just completely crashed. $60!
O jogo travou. O jogo crashou. Eu tô ao vivo, ó. Eu tô ao vivo, juro que eu tô aqui. Eu tô aqui, ó, minha cara aqui, eu tô aqui, ó.
It was so bad at launch. Like it's hard to communicate, but it was that bad.
For PS4, we're getting an evenly frame-paced delivery at a straight 30 FPS. When it can't keep up, we see dips to the 20 frames per second line like this, and sometimes even lower. And even a largely waterlogged area like this has the game running at 15 FPS.
Sean Murray told the Daily Star that putting No Man's Sky on better hardware could fundamentally change the experience.
If planets in No Man's Sky are only 10 kilometers across, I can't read it. Oh, I can't read it. Something square. Something square. Oh, I can't read it. Enhance.
Change the experience. More powerful hardware doesn't just mean upgraded textures or a higher frame rate. It means we can fundamentally change the experience.
The next day.
Yeah, the band is like a church. The whole thing was crazy. The whole thing was a disaster. And everybody, I think rightly so, could have thought this was going to go poorly. This is not going to go anywhere. Like they're going to abandon it and move on, take the money and run. But they didn't. They worked on it. They worked on it for years and years and years and really turned it around. And I think they deserve a ton of credit for that because it would have been really easy for them to just abandon it. And 8 years later, they've really made a ridiculous amount of improvement. The game is totally different and has such an insane amount of free content that's been added. It's baffling. I've tried to get into it before. I just have never really been able to get there. It's really slow to start, and I think the core gameplay loops have just never really connected with me. But there are some people that absolutely devour it because there's so much. Yeah. It's tough to get started now. It's overwhelming. Yeah, I think that's the big thing is that it's just there's a ton. And unless I think if you were to go into it like with guides and like how to start in No Man's Sky in 2024, you probably get into it, but it's one of those things where you got to kind of sit down and spend 5 hours figuring it out, and then you probably get your feet under you and get going. I just am not somebody who typically is like gonna do that. I'm like, there's other games I will enjoy playing right now. Why would I spend 5 hours working there, you know? Let me go back and catch up on these super chats real quick. Keymaker, thing for the 5. I'm okay with how the Fable feminist or feminine or female, Jesus, protagonist looks because the mundane person reaching for a higher fate gets sold to me better. Like you said, Pig Farmer, for example. I mean, it's just, I understand some people want their protagonists to be like supermodels. That's fine. Play Stellar Blade, literally a supermodel. That's totally fine. But I think pretending as though Fable as a game looks like garbage because the protagonist isn't hot, like that to me is a little silly. In the same way, like a game is not automatically amazing because the character, the protagonist, is super hot. Like that also doesn't follow. Rambling entertaining, thing for that one. Am I allowed to be worried about Avowed now? I think you're allowed to be worried about Obsidian. As for what we've seen of Avowed, I don't think it changes anything. Like the game still looks like kind of a AA scale RPG with an Obsidian flair to it. Like I think that art director, if he really is intentionally not hiring white people, like that is discrimination, and that's a problem. To say the very least, that's a huge problem. I think if he's openly saying that about any person or any race, like he should be fired because he makes hiring decisions as the director of that department. So that's a problem. But as for the game itself, I don't think it necessarily changes any of that. Whether you want to buy it now or not is up to you. I mean, and your choices for what you'd want to support or not. But it certainly makes me question it because that's a pretty severe problem. Macho, thank you for that. I love No Man's Sky in VR. I love Hello Games. Hundreds of free updates and content drops. Playable hybrid, flat VR, and bonded together. Light no fire hype. Good. Yeah, I'm sure in VR it is really cool. Matt Harris, thank you for the 10. Hey Luke, have you watched any of executive producer Laura Fryer's videos on the game industry recently? Pretty interesting and insightful on problems with AAA. I have not, but I will pull that up in another tab and check that out because that does sound interesting. Voila. Executive producer from Microsoft. Interesting. Yeah, I got that pulled up. I'll check that out. Thank you for the suggestion, Matt. And the Macho, did my last super chats work? Yes. Yeah, the super chat works. We just get through the segment, then we look at them all. Thank you for those. Very generous. Not enough to kill my hype for the game. One crazy dev does not mean the game is bad. Yeah, it's, as with all this, it's up to the individuals to decide if one bad apple is enough for you to cast the whole bushel aside, you know. It might be enough for you. Might not be. But the whole basket supports that apple. Well, it's not clear if that's the case. I think the apples on top support that apple, but the lower the analogy is strained, I grant you, but the lower apples, like the people that are just working in quest design, the people that have been working on this for years in the writing department, like are they happy with the way he's saying that? They very well might not be, but they know if they say anything, they might get fired. And that's a bigger problem, is that dude makes like major decisions, and that's how you can create an environment which is like really toxic, you know? Yeah. Avowed is just... He deleted his account, right? Or was he made to delete it? Well, he seems like the type that's on Blue Sky. Know what I mean? Seems like that type. So if he deleted that account too, that would be interesting. But if he deleted his X account, like, that doesn't surprise me at all. Also this, I just thought this was funny. Because when I saw this, I was like, no way. We watched that Krabby Cat video, right? And he did another video on another game.
Take a look at this.
You remember this?
Known for
Joe Nichols, studio director, Capcom Game Studio, Vancouver. They did Dead Rising 4. That was a mess. This video from earlier on stream. Who's he talking to?
When I started out, that we would scale our world after year. I think we rewire ourselves, we grow.
Look at that as
our industry needs more T-shaped people. Techs do that all the time.
Exactly. So we have Mark from Ubisoft, or you go by Mac.
I go by Mac usually. It's less confusing for people because
Yeah,
people
exactly.
are like.
Okay. Do some social networking.
Okay,
while we talk.
that's
So you
fine.
just run
I'm
and let
so
me know when you're
used to that.
finished, okay?
Exactly.
He has a great voice. He has a great voice, but it's that guy. It's that guy. When I saw him in the interview, I was like, I know that guy. I know that guy from somewhere. It's just, oh, look at that. It's that guy. It's that guy. Small world. Yeah. Just less beard. Yeah, a little less beard. Just a little less beard. Now I'm curious. Now I want to watch this whole interview with the Dude Soup live podcast. Is Dude Soup still a thing? Oh, Funhouse is dead, right?
I just think Funhouse means a lot to a lot of people. I've been lucky enough to meet people in real life that watch this content and have watched for a long time. The important thing to remember is that it meant something to them. And that is awesome. To say that's not what we set out to do is naive. People make things so that way it can mean something to someone. Otherwise, what?
It's crazy that they have 1.4 million subs. And they just abandoned it. I mean, it's tough. These numbers are not great. And honestly, looking at these thumbnails and videos, I have no idea what this content even is. What is this? Okay, now I understand why they abandoned it. This is, oh man. What am I looking at? Because I remember when they were one of the big guys. Like, they were one of the big channels. Like, they were putting stuff out that would blow up all the time. But man, wow. Jeez. They were owned by Rooster Teeth, so they died when Rooster Teeth died. Oh, yeah, that checks out. Man, end of an era. A lot of these websites and pages, they blew up way too big, way too fast, and they just could never recover. I never got how they could have like, how they have like 50 employees and they put out like a few videos a week. It's like, what are we doing? Like, bro. It's crazy. But anyway. Oh yeah, Light of Motiram. Yeah, the Horizon inspired game. Yeah, what a mess. I'm really interested to see if Sony tries to sue them for that. That'd be really fascinating. I don't know. It's like Kind of Funny Games. How can they be profitable now? I think it's gotta be just freaking Patreon, dude. Like, I don't know how else it could possibly turn a profit, because their views are like,
What's up?
I'm telling you right now, with these view counts, I couldn't employ one person. Like, I couldn't employ Jacob with these view counts. So it's got to just be Patreon, that they make a ton of money through Patreon. I don't know how much they have, like how much they get in, but like even those posts aren't making a ton of money. I genuinely don't understand it. I don't know where the money comes from. Somewhere. I just don't know where. Or maybe everybody works for free. Poppy Microsoft, are they owned by a big company like that? I mean, whenever I've seen some of these guys at preview events or at press events and stuff, they always are nice enough. I mean, they kind of walk around like they own the place. One of them cut me off in the line for food at an event earlier this year. Like, I was standing there waiting, holding a plate, and they just like came and walked up and cut me off. It was like, what? Also, yeah, I thought this was a gaming podcast. They have an entire episode, please vote for Kamala Harris. Like, what? Man. I don't get it, dude. I'm fascinated because I'm like, there's money coming from somewhere. Maybe it's just Patreon. Maybe they just have like a millionaire benefactor or something. But like Todd chose to go on Greg Miller's show for an interview. It's like, that's where you do your interview? Really? Like, he doesn't like you because you have more views. I mean, maybe there was something like that. I was just like, I don't think he like knew. I don't think he knew who I was. I don't think he knew who I was. I think he just is in his bubble. And those guys walk around like they own the place. Typically. They're nice enough. You talk with them. They're very sweet. They're nice people. As far as I can tell. Unless your name is Colin, in which case they'll dump you to the curb. But yeah, I don't know why they're so like I don't know who's watching them. Like, I genuinely don't understand. Like, I just don't. But Asmigel knows he's reacted to a couple videos, and I appreciate that. Should I buy Outlaws with its Black Friday sales? I don't know what the sales are, but I'd say if you can get it for 20-30 bucks off, you can have fun with that. I think you can get 20-30 bucks of fun out of it. It's not amazing, but it's like for sale. Yeah, probably. These guys used to work for IGN in the past. Yeah, I think it's those connections that allow them to still get those interviews, because people like Todd, you know, they've known Todd for 20 years, and so there's that. But there's this big gap where it's like all those guys, which, you know, there's older people in the industry, no doubt, that's fine, but there's a big gap between like it's why I thought it was so good when Ken Levine did that interview with Skillup. You remember that? For Judas. Ken Levine, Judas, Skillup. Was this it? Yeah, this. Like, I thought this was great. I was like, yeah, you're going, and Jake Baldino was there. Like, you're going on and you're talking with them about, you know, they tried their game. They sat down with him and talked about it. It's like, this is awesome. Like, these are people that have big audiences that actively talk about games, do reviews and stuff. Like, this is where the audience is. Yeah, come meet them where they're at. Instead of doing a video with like Greg that does 70,000 views and is mostly just clipped and distributed elsewhere. Like when Todd did that interview with Greg, I think it did like 70,000 views at the time we did the video on it. And my video did like 500,000. It's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? When's Judas releasing? Next year? I've not heard anything about it for a while. Yeah, I think next year. I think next year somewhere. Probably gets delayed knowing Ken, but it'd be cool to see if it didn't. Well, to be fair, it was live, so I believe 70K after all the live views. No, the view counts for live events or for live streams counts the live viewers. So at the end of this podcast, we're going to probably have a total view count of like 10 to 15,000 from the people that came in and filtered through during like the stream itself. And then if more people watch it after, that'll get added to that total. So yeah. So that counts all of it. Blake, thank you for the 5. How's the new Nier DLC for Stellar Blade? I see more people talking about the new squishy boob physics they added, and it's annoying. I hate to tell you, like, I think that's why a lot of people are playing that. I think so. I will say it's why I was like kind of surprised that that it ended up being like a really solid game, because all anybody ever talked about were the boobs and the outfits and stuff, and then like we played it and we're like, oh no, it's actually like a solid game. But nobody ever talks about the solid game. They only ever talk about how scantily clad the women are, and it's like, what are we doing? Greg, it's just mainstream games media, so the developers and publishers feel safe revealing stuff through them. Yeah, I mean, I think most of it is that it's just they've known him forever because he's been around through IGN and all that. That's fine. Whatever. He's got lots of connections. Good for him. But I think if they want their stuff to actually be seen, go on Maddie's channel. Maddie's interview with Todd did like 500,000 or something. Go like to the places where the audiences actually are. Stop propping up dying media. You know? What are we doing? Anyway. One day I'll cut him. It wasn't Greg, to be clear, that cut me off, but one day I'll cut off one of those people at the lunch line. One day it'll be my turn. One day. Colin has a bigger platform. Yeah, I mean, what they did to Colin was indefensible as far as I can tell. Like, really, really gross what they did to Colin. Like, pretty shameful. Yeah. Anyway. Well, fam, I've got to go finish up cleaning out this room across the way. And it's going to be awesome. It's going to be good. And we'll be back on, I guess it is Friday. So we'll be back Monday with another show, and it's going to be awesome, and it's going to be good. I think, let me double check this. I would guess review codes for Indiana Jones probably go out Monday. I would guess Monday, maybe Tuesday. I think we'll start to hear that people are getting them. Maybe even today. That would surprise me, though, because it's now a week away. But even, I was telling Jacob, I was like, I don't even know if it's worth doing a review for Indiana Jones, even if they send a code, because, like, nobody's really interested in it. The data I'm looking at is, like, not great. So I don't know. I'm surprised that so few people are talking about or interested in Indiana Jones. But somebody talked about it and we're like, I think it's because everybody kind of has the same skeptical look. Everybody's like, I think everybody's kind of looking at it that way. Yeah, one day you'll cut one of them off. Not off, just straight up cut, Luke. Yeah, one day I will take control and I will cut people off at the lunch line. You're damn right. You're damn right. Anyway, I will see you guys Monday. Have a fantastic weekend. Much, much love. I'll see you there. We'll play it out with a little bit of Concord's Dead. Much love, everybody. I'll see you on Monday. Fun day.
Imagine a hero shooter where the hero never showed. Imagine a game with a player base that just refused to grow. A 5v5 hero shooter with gameplay that's just okay. And characters that remind me of Tupperware and white bread. No, I'm not talking about Overwatch. Please stop bringing up Overwatch. This game is not Overwatch. It's actually something else. Imagine a game with a story that no one watches. A game that costs $40 that Sony totally botches. It has all my favorite characters, like Lemmy, Dawn, and Craig. At least, I think that's what their names are. I never bothered to check. Concord like the grave. Your legacy is safe as a game that no one played, and a price that no one paid. Boop-a-doop-ba, keep-a-doop-da, scoop-a-boop-ba, beep-beep-beep-beep-beep, phlegm. Concord was about as good as accidentally peeing on your own leg. Concord, we're here to lay you to rest. We know you tried your best. You copied so much cool stuff just to turn out lame in the end. I'll never forget my favorite moments, like when Hot Sauce Guy jumped. Remember when he jumped? That was really cool. A rat just ran by on my desk, and even the rat didn't want to play Concord, even though I blessed him with the chance. The $40 he could afford, but the rat just stared on in a trance. Rat, 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 rat. Concord's dead. Rat, 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 rat. Concord's dead. The Costco guys made more money than you. They were just on Jimmy Fallon too. Imagine Lennox being on Jimmy Fallon, because I literally can't. The rat on my desk is eating all my Cheerios and grapes, and also Concord is dead. Concord like the grave. Your legacy is safe as a game that no one played, and a price that no one paid. Rat-a-ta-ta-beep-a-da, boop. Skim, milk, the rat fleet, doo-da, doo-da. A guy said he really liked it, and then a bunch of rats ate his face. That's the sound he made when Concord passed away. I wish things turned out different, but either way I'm getting paid. Concord's dead, Concord's dead, and boy is my face red. When the game came out, everybody overslept. Concord's dead, Concord's dead. Holy crap, Lois, Concord's dead. When the game out, people played everything else instead.